What's up guys, King Crisis here, welcome to the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. If you guys enjoy my content, please comment down below some ideas. Follow my Instagram if you guys more updates on me, my personal life, and what I'm going to be doing in my spare time. With that being said, welcome to Deku had a divine ice quirk. Now, in this timeline, there are going to be some changes. For one, Inko is going to be related to Rei directly, and Asashi is going to be related to another ice family. Just going to make them a random ice family from, I don't know, America, but a random ice family. This family is going to be on par with the Todoroki's firepower, and Asashi just so happens to be the very man, the only man on the planet who will have obviously enough aside from Izuku and Inko, who will have an ice quirk comparable to the Flames of Endeavor. Yes, you said that. Yes. You see, OG Endeavor had the hottest fire quirk on the My Hero planet. Obviously, aside from Dabi and Todoroki. Before Dabi and Todoroki were born, before Toya and Todoroki were born, Endeavor was the guy who had the most powerful fire quirk on the planet. He had the hottest flames, the strongest attack power, the most destructive capability. Hasashi is going to have the coldest ice, the strongest ice, and he's going to have the most skills when it comes to his ice quirk. Now, Hasashi's ice is going to be insanely cold, and Inko is going to have cryokinesis, allowing her to control and manipulate existing ice as she sees fit. This is going to make Inko and Hasashi be an incredible tag team duo, but most importantly came along when Inko gained her quirk awakening, which allowed her the ability to turn water into ice. But of course, this was a bit of a limit because Inko had to carry water on her at all times. But, you see, Izuku is going to be born so much differently from his father and his mother, because Izuku is going to be born, for one, with the most powerful ice quirk in all of existence. And you'll see what I mean when we get there. But for one, when Izuku goes into the quirk doctor's office at the basic age of 4 years old, he doesn't come back to have a quirk. They would say that Izuku is quirkless. And for the next 8 years, that's how things would play out. Izuku would be quirkless, and Inko and Asashi would be a bit hurt by this, but in the end of the day, they would still love their son. Izuku, sadly enough, would get bullied in school because, well, the kid doesn't have a quirk. It was nothing that was going to get done aside from him being bullied. People would laugh at Izuku, they would pick at Izuku, and they would call him quirkless. In this timeline, he doesn't go to the classic school that he went to in the original timeline. He's nowhere near Bakugo. Bakugo and Izuku are just so far away from each other that it doesn't even matter in the end. Izuku, sadly enough though, one day when he was 12 years old, he was in his cafeteria. A bunch of kids were laughing at Izuku, calling him the quirkless boy, saying how his dad was the number 3 pro hero and Izuku's quirkless. They even explained that his dad is sometimes interchangeable with Endeavor. Sometimes he's considered a number 2, and that kid is quirkless. Everyone just laughs at Izuku, knowing that not only is his dad the number 3/2 pro hero, and goes to number 5/9 pro hero. Inko would move in between being either the number 9 pro hero or number 5 pro hero in ratings. Sometimes when she's closer towards Hasashi, she's able to get more jobs done. She's able to do more as a hero. So typically when she's closer to Hasashi, she's around number 5. But when she's further from him, she's around number 9. Due to her own water supply not really being that much. But with other people around who have water quirks, oh yeah, that's when Inko's at her strongest. But that's not important. She's either the number 5 or number 9 pro hero. Snowflake and Blizzard, like that's what they were called. And Izuku, quirkless. Deku was a bit upset, but he hid it behind a stoic and just emotionless facial expression. But eventually, that facial expression just couldn't last, because kids begin to laugh, they begin to point, and the whole cafeteria just begins to laugh. Izuku from here can no longer fake it. He begins to grow angry. He balls up his fist thinking, I'm not weak. So what if I don't have a quirk? Anger just begins to pour into Izuku's heart. He's mad, he's upset, he's enraged, like, he holds nothing more than pure, unadulterated hatred. Hatred within his heart. Izuku's eyes begin to glow, and the kids around him begins to laugh, not even seeing the fact that his eyes are now glowing. No one paid attention, and that was their biggest mistake. Because Izuku looks upward. And when he does, he lets out a loud scream of pure anger. And once that scream was finished, once he got done just letting out that loud burst, a destructive flash freeze will be unleashed that freezes the entire campus of his school. But here comes the actual overpowered factor of his quirk. Izuku freezes everything within his vicinity. And not only did he freeze everything within that area, he went as far as gravity inside of the school would be froze. Time inside of the school would be froze. Izuku, having no idea what happened, temperatures doesn't even feel cold to him. He's panicking. He would quickly call his mom and dad. And Inko show up on the scene with other heroes with her, but the second Inko walks inside, she would be frozen as well. Being frozen directly in time. With no one, literally no one, being able to get on the campus. The pro heroes who didn't go inside and sees everything that happens to the people who does go inside, they begin to call up higher and higher heroes. The whole top 10 of all the pro heroes would be there. Everyone. Endeavor tries burning the ice with his flames. He tries everything in his power. But even Endeavor's flames didn't put a dent in this. Magma Man couldn't melt the ice with his lava. Even combining their power together, they could not melt this ice. They had no idea what to do. So they would use what they know from Inko and Asashi, and they would basically hack their cell phones and get Izuku's number out of there. They would call Izuku and basically tell him like he has to come outside. He has to leave the campus himself. They can't enter it. And young Izuku would do so. As he leaves the campus grounds, he begins to panic. He can't unfreeze it. He doesn't know how he even froze it to begin with. His mom and his dad are in there. And the pro heroes tell him like all they can do right now is just take him to get his quirk analyzed or something. Izuku doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to leave his parents. And he begins to tell the pro heroes to back the hell away from him. Most of the pro heroes would do so. Of course, All Might being there will be the only figure who has some type of way to actually convince Izuku to come with him. After all, he's the #1 pro hero. Every child looks up to All Might. But in the case of Izuku, it didn't work the way they were expecting because Izuku was not too fazed by All Might. He didn't care. This version of Izuku looked up to two heroes, his mother and father. He didn't look up to All Might. So in those moments where All Might was trying to convince him to go, it just didn't work. And in the end, the other pro heroes begin to realize how big of a struggle this actually is. Eventually, after hours, and I mean hours, they figured out that Izuku did know someone. His mother and father did know someone who would be able to take him. And that someone just so happens to be Mizuki. Yes, Inko is still going to be friends with Mizuki, which means that this version of Deku is still going to know Bakugo. But they're not going to be as close, or they're not going to be very close, because this version of Bakugo would know that he's quirkless, so of course, he would still come up with the nickname Deku. But they're not going to be, like, as strong of a relationship as it was in the original timeline, where Deku, legitimately went to school with him, got bullied by him. No. This version of him just didn't go to school with him. They knew each other. They were friends, sort of. Deku, they weren't friends. They just weren't. I'm not even gonna lie. They weren't friends. But it was close enough. So from here, they eventually convinced Deku. And Deku would go with Mizuki. They would bring him to the quirk doctor. And the doctor looking at his quirk would be stunned. This kid. He looks towards the pro heroes who were there for his quirk examination because they're trying to figure out if Izuku can unfreeze his campus. If either that or if he can just get Inko and Asashi out of there. And well, the doctor would say his quirk is probably the most powerful quirk on the planet. This leads to everyone looking up immediately. Let's not forget, Endeavor's there. Hell, All Might's there. And even the Hawks is there. A young Hawks, but still there. Actually, yeah, I think he'll be around #4 pro hero at this point. Hawks, Best Genius, they're pretty young at this time, but they're still top 5. So they're all there. And it's that's insane. They would say, his quirk, it says his ice can reach temperatures of -0. What? That's not even a number, Endeavor would say. Yeah, there's no such thing as -0. The doctor would say, don't you think I know that? -0 isn't a damn thing. He can create ice colder than the vacuum of space. That little bit of ice that he froze on that campus, guess what it did? It dropped the planet's temperature by so much. He fixed global warming. Oh, all the heroes would say, well, that's a good thing, but they would say, if he don't unfreeze that, likely enough, he would cause severe damage to the planet itself. This would lead to everyone looking towards Deku. And Deku, being a young child, he has no idea how to unfreeze it. He would just straight up tell them, I don't know how to unfreeze it. The doctor then would say, we know. We're going to have to try teaching you the best we can. They didn't look towards the heroes. I don't think anyone in there is going to die, the doctor would say, because it says that his quirk can freeze time and gravity. How is that even possible? The heroes would say. And the doctor would say, I don't know. This is the most powerful quirk on the planet as of what I know so far. He looks towards All Might. This kid has the potential to surpass you within a matter of only a few years. Hell, I'll give the kid a few months tops and he could probably beat you. Probably won't be stronger, but just out pure hacks alone, I think he could beat you in only a few months of training. This leads to Deku being incredibly happy and kind of ecstatic, but he's starting to really miss his parents, who are frozen within his own ice. This makes him a bit upset. So from here, the next straight up year, Izuku was trained by the top 10 pro heroes themselves. All Might, Endeavor, Hawks, Best Genius, I don't even know who the other people are, but the other people, they all trained Izuku, and even Aizawa trained him. Aizawa even tried using his quirk on the school. It didn't unfreeze. And about this point in time, a year has passed. And after this year, the exact day where he froze the school, the exact day he awakened his quirk, he returned. Mostly because he wanted to see if he could unfreeze it at this point. And well, after a year, he was successfully able to unfreeze the school. With everything being unfrozen, everyone inside being just stunned. They felt every second pass by. Everyone there was essentially froze for a straight up year. They felt it. They didn't feel the need to eat. They didn't feel the need to breathe, but every second that passed, they felt it. They were stunned. They were low-key just, like, they were horrified. They were in, like, so mentally fucked up. Everyone there had to get therapy. And that was a whole campus. So, like, probably over 1,000 people. I mean, I know my school has over 1,000 students, so I don't know about other schools, but we're going to make it over 1,000 people. So over 1,000 students had to get therapy. And this leads to the teachers that work there, some of them almost quit on the spot because they couldn't handle the strain of just simply being in there. Deku felt horrible. He felt like a monster for what he did. After all, he froze all those people in time. They were frozen for a straight up year. A year of their lives were gone because he blinked, he spazzed, his quirk awakened, and he took everything from them. Part of him was hurt. Part of him felt like a monster for just simply doing that. He didn't try to, he didn't want to, but he felt like he was responsible. In which, honestly, he was. But in the end, that's all he could feel, the responsibility. After all, there was nothing he could do. What happened, happened. He can't take it away. I mean, he could, he did, but he can't undo it. What's done is done. From here, you'll see everyone just avoiding Izuku, and Izuku going as far as transferring schools. From here, Hasashi and Inko trained Izuku the best they could. And well, the best they could was almost enough. If it wasn't for the fact that they found out that not only can Izuku create ice, he can also create cold fire. And Inko and Asashi just didn't understand how. But he could create ice so powerful, it burns, igniting itself into this bluish flame. And this blue flame could have hints of white in it. Those hints of white can essentially freeze anything. At this point in time, Inko and Asashi just almost gave up. Like, his quirk defies everything fire and even ice should be. He's just so different. From here, we cut on over towards the start of the original anime, where there you will see this version of Izuku. He's so different. He's so calm, and he tries his hardest to stay humbled, because this version of Deku knows if he gets out of control, if he gets so far as a little too angry, he could straight up destroy the planet. And it's so bad that Izuku has freaking militaries on site at all times. Like, he literally lives in a military base, and it's not for his protection. He lives there because if he gets mad, the entire army is going to have to kill him. And they probably wouldn't even succeed, but they're gonna be the first line of defense. And when I say army, not only do army soldiers live here, but also pro heroes live here. They genuinely have people ready to kill him. His quirk and him is that big of a threat. The world view him as that big of a threat. They have people just ready to kill him. Just straight up ready to kill him. That's the only reason. And the people have no problem doing this because, well, he's a threat to the whole planet. If he goes out of control, the planet would suffer. The whole world would suffer. So he gotta die. Genuinely, he would have to die. And that's just, as cold-hearted as it sounds, that's just how it is. They would have to kill this man off. But from here, we see him. Original timeline, things just going as normal. And you'll see Deku. He's sitting there. From here, we will time skip. The teacher will come into the classroom. He will say his classic line, "I know you all want to be heroes." Yes, this version of Deku would go to the same school as Bakugo. For only 2 years, though. But he did wind up going to the school. And, well, everyone in the classroom begins to go crazy and use their quirks. The teacher then explained that we have 2 kids here applying for UA. One of them just so happens to be a recommended student. And of course, those students being Deku and Bakugo. Everyone would cheer for them, and Deku would just smirk. Bakugo doesn't go off on Deku in this timeline, because he's very much so aware of what Deku did, and how his quirk is just stupid. Straight up stupid. He doesn't view it as powerful. Bakugo views that shit as a cheat code. And he hates it. He hates even thinking about the fact that in all actuality, Deku is a fucking god. And he just hates knowing that this kid walks around as if things are normal. But at the end of the day, him and Deku technically are friends. So from here, in the day's ending, Bakugo would ask him like they want to go out and celebrate. I mean, school's over for the next 3 months, and well, your entrance exams are going to be coming up. And if they get into UA, they'll have another celebration party. Deku would tell him, nah, he has to get back to the base. If he's not back by a certain time, they go a little crazy because he might, destroy the planet. And Bakugo's like, yeah, sure thing, Deku. From here, the Sludge Villain would attack as he would have in the original timeline, popping out. I need your body, kid. I didn't know that freak was in town. Deku would look forward. Huh, you're interesting creature. But nah, you can't have my body. Kinda sucks. The Sludge Villain would say, I don't think you understand. It's not an option, kid. Deku then starts to just straight up laugh. He laughs in the Sludge Villain's face as he says, yeah, I don't think you understand. You're not getting my fucking body. The Sludge Villain would tell him, oh, remember your place. As he rushes towards Deku, Deku would tilt his head and a burst of ice instantly freezes the Sludge Villain. Deku would say, I don't understand why they never realize that they just can't touch me. He then would make sure that the temperature of his ice is at a mediated temperature so where it literally won't affect the planet. Deku has to make sure that every time he uses his quirk, he's using it like weaker. he has to hold back because his quirk base power is -0. Just its base regular power. Deku legit has to heat up his ice when he freezes things. Because if he don't, his basic quirk is affecting the planet every time he uses it. So he has to always, consistently use his quirk and use it to where it's not freezing every damn thing. Yeah, he's dangerous. He also learned that he had to confine his quirk within a certain area. Essentially, what Deku did with his quirk, he mutilated. So within his quirk, he's essentially creating a domain within anything that he freezes ice within. It literally makes a domain. So where the ice and the temperatures within it cannot affect anything outside of that domain. And of course, that takes time. And that took so much time to learn. Just using his quirk, he's constantly suppressing himself. But from here, All Might would arrive. And when he arrives, he says, "Oh, Izuku. Yeah, it's good to see you again, man." Deku would be all for it. "Good to see you, All Might." As immediately, they would high-five each other. All Might then would turn. Yeah, had to capture this villain." Deku would smile. "Thanks, man. Well, I got him freezed up for you." All Might proceeds to grab the sludge, and when he does, he's like, "Jesus Christ, it's still freezing." Deku says, "Hey, at least it's not colder than the vacuum of space." All Might would sigh. "Yeah, you're fucking dangerous." Or from here, he would jump off. With All Might jumping off, Deku would think, something's off. Is he injured? He would think. Just simply watching as he flies through the air, he can tell that bro's definitely hurt. It's kind of obvious. Like when you're flying and you're literally crunching your side, so you're not putting pressure on it. It's very obvious. From here, we cut on over towards him making it home. Inko will be seen sitting down as she's fixing dinner within the kitchen. You know, if y'all never was in the kitchen, I don't know if people do this, but I do this. Sometimes I would bring my chair and I would just sit over the stove as I'm cooking because I ain't gonna fake. Sometimes I don't want to stand. Leave me alone. I'll be cooking for a very long time. But yeah, so she was seen sitting as she's fixing a little bit of dinner. From here, Deku says, "Are you off today?" Inko then would say, "No, your father's taking care of all my missions now. I don't feel like doing it." Deku says, "Oh, well, they're gonna get done pretty fast if he's doing it. He's pretty dramatic." Inko says, "You got no idea. I've dealt with him for 18 years longer than you." Deku then would say, "Oh, you're talking about bro?" She then would nod. Deku would sigh. "Wait a minute, 8? No, you dealt with him." "Mom, I'm 15. So technically 3 years longer than me?" She then looks at him. "Dude, 18 years. We grew up together." "Oh. Whoa. But I thought his family's from America." "We grew up together." Okay. He would say. From here, the 10 months of training would go off. And to be honest, Deku doesn't really do much. This version of him is just so powerful that really nothing really needs to be done. So from here, we cut on over towards the UA entrance exams. From here, Deku will walk inside, where of course he will bump into Bakugo. They'll tell one another good luck, and from here, he'll walk inside. He never have the trip moment because, well, this version of Deku knows for a fact, if he wanted to, he could freeze everything and technically destroy every robot the moment he walks inside of the exam. But of course, he's recommended, so he likely won't even have to do this. But part of him thinks he could go to the recommended exam, or he could take the basic exam and show his power. Either way it goes, if he don't make it in through the basic exams, he's already a recommended student. And he was trained by the top 10 pro heroes. Likely enough, they're gonna accept him. He thinks about this, and he actually decides that no, he's not gonna go to the recommended exam. He's gonna take the normal exam. He feels like it's not fair to the others. So, he would do so, going on over towards the normal exams, where from here, you now see where Deku starts to take the normal test. He would not get yelled at by Ida in this timeline, but Deku would actually tell Ida just straight up to shut up. Because Ida, of course, would still yap to President Mike about the robots and about the points, when in all actuality, bro doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about. So Deku just straight up tells him, "Yo, kid with the glasses, shut up." This will cause Ida to look at him. And who do you think you're talking to? I am Tenya Ida of the Ida family, and I'm Izuku fucking Midoriya. I think you know who I am, Tenya. So, for the love of God, shut up, Deku would say. And as he says this, Ida immediately recognizes that name because his father and mother, and even his brother, have mentioned Izuku before. And boy, is he known to just be a fucking demon. Just straight up a demon. Like, most people are terrified of him. Most pro hero families, like, he's literally legendary. And some time around, he's like, some people just think he's fake. Like, they straight up think that the pro heroes made this kid up. Because there's no way in hell someone actually did that. But of course, Izuku's in the flesh. And Ida, who's actually a pro hero family, terrified. He shuts his mouth. When Izuku goes towards the gate, he doesn't try stopping him. He doesn't say anything to Deku. The test will begin. And as soon as it begins, Deku will sprout ice wings and he flies upward into the air. He zooms off at super speeds, blitzing past everyone with a shockwave flowing off. Not only that, a very cold shockwave. He flies forward towards the first robot. Immediately, he delivers a ruthless punch to it as a burst of cold, pure icy fire burns from his hands and instantly freezes the robot. As this happens, he proceeds to go onward towards the next robot. Here's how his quirk would manifest. His quirk manifests almost like a flame exploding from his body, but this flame, of course, freezes everything within its tracks. After all, his quirk is an ice quirk no matter what. It just sometimes would look like fire. Sometimes. After all, guys, I said it, he manifests a cold fire. It's how his quirk is going to work. His ice would look like just a misty flame. But in all actuality, this is ice. This is legitimately pure ice. He goes forward from robot after robot, freezing them solid with simple touches at this point. He isn't even delivering destructive punches anymore. He's just touching them, and they're immediately freezing. And when he's not doing this, he's slicing them in half with a giant ice sword. And when he's not doing that, he's just straight up looking at them and ice explodes from their insides. Deku proceeds to absolutely decimate the robot exam. And Aizawa looks on. That's Izuku Midoriya, he would say. Why is he taking this exam? He was part of the recommended exam. And Nezu then would say he chose to take this exam. Izuku Midoriya felt like it wasn't fair just to go in via recommendation. After all, the recommended exam, honestly, it's a bit easier than this one in my opinion. As I would say, yes, it is a bit easier, but it requires more intelligence. You think Izuku Midoriya lacks that intelligence? He would question. Nezu would say, absolutely not. His test scores are insane. This kid is a genius, he would say. I just don't think he wanted to do it, he would say. He would say, interesting. What do you think about him so far? He's powerful, Nezu would say, insanely powerful. I can already see that. I'm pretty certain that not many people are gonna contend with this kid. You see Deku jumping under the way as he dodges a robot and proceeds to swipe his hand across the air as a burst of ice swipes through the air itself and slices right through the robot. Nezu would say, he's a problem already, and this kid is only now getting started. Aizawa would smile. He was trained by most of us already, he would say. The kid should have already been in UA. He should have been in UA when he was 12, when he first unlocked his quirk. Matter of fact, he should have been trained by the world government. Fuck that. He should have been trained by the top heroes of every nation. It's a good thing this kid didn't turn to the dark side, or let me take that back. It's a good thing he hasn't turned yet. Hopefully he never turns, because with that power, we'll fucking die, Aizawa would say, just straight up. Not only is that the problem, my quirk counseling doesn't work on him. His ice is a freaking mutation. It's part of him, they would say. And the teachers will look on, so you can't even counsel his quirk? Aizawa would shake his head no. I think his entire body may genuinely be made of ice. How is that even possible? I don't know, he would say. He's different. He's so unique. Or from here, you will see Izuku in the air, dodging robot missiles as he would grab the missiles out of the air and throw the missiles forward as they would explode, and the flames would explode into a flaming ice that would freeze over the robots. Aizawa and the others would look onward. He just converted an explosion into an ice explosion. How is it even possible? They would say, I think he can do literally anything with his quirk. I legitimately think he can do anything as long as he can somehow manifest it in an icy way. From here, sorry, I heard yelling. But from here, you would see Deku. He could be seen after destroying a few robots, realizing he probably has way more than enough points to actually make it into 1A. He would genuinely stop. And as he turns around and just decides he's gonna go wait on a building, he would hear, boom! Help! Oh my god, that was horrible. I could have just used his SD voice. Help! But of course, Deku would turn. But of course, he hears Ochako Uraraka screaming for help, and he sees a bunch of kids just start running, and Deku would tilt his head. Quickly enough, he would slide across the ground, using his ice skate across the ground at supersonic speeds. He would arrive before Ochako. He easily picks up the rubble and throws it off of her. From here, he would see she's laying there on the ground, and there he would see the 0 pointer. Deku would tilt his head. Please, he would think. He looks towards her. You'll be okay. As he proceeds to create an ice shell around her, he then looks forward towards the 0 pointer. Deku then would spawn an ice spear within his hand. He will spin the spear and he throws it directly at the 0 pointer's head. It shoots right through the robot's head, and immediately the spear would explode with ice spikes shooting all throughout the 0 pointer. Instantly, he destroys it. And Aizawa, Nezu, and all the others say, look at him. Look at him. This is the #1 pro hero. I don't even think of Japan. I think of the planet. I think he could legitimately freeze the whole ocean if he wanted to. They would say, yeah, he looked like he didn't even try just then. Because he didn't. Everyone would say. He didn't try. All Might could just be seen smiling. I trained that kid. Just gotta point that out, he would say. And all of them would say, we all did. And he's like, I'm just saying. I trained him. More than y'all did, because I can actually throw hands on him. As he says this, everyone would say, okay, now we get it. You don't have to flex the fact you can keep up with the kid. All Might then would think to himself, shit, I think I can. Shit, he might be more powerful than I am. But from here, we cut on over towards Izuku going home. He makes it home. He'll tell his mom everything that happened. Of course, he gets the mail. But he gets the letter the same day. Literally like 5 minutes later, it comes in the mail. You got first place, you win, kid. And Deku just looks upward. Flash? And he'll say, yeah, why are you my mailman? What do you mean, why am I your mailman? Obviously, you got into UA. I don't even know why they sent you a letter, he would say. I mean, you got common sense. You got in either way it goes, like, you're you. And it's whatever. They only sent me to the kids who legitimately just did crazy shit. And of course, being you, I knew he was gonna do something crazy. From here, the pro hero would immediately vanish, and Deku just thinks, fastest hero on the planet, and yet me and All Might are still faster. He would think to himself. But from here, we cut on over towards the first day. Deku would of course walk into class, and Bakugo and Ida are arguing. But when Deku walks into the classroom, he just gives Ida a bit of a side eye, and bro instantly shuts his mouth. And Bakugo would say, Deku. Bakugo would stand up, and immediately they would high-five each other, and Ida just thinks, they're friends? They know each other? Bakugo then would say, you made it to UA, you fucking bitch? And Deku says, shut your bitch ass up. And from here, they genuinely just start talking to each other, like calling each other like all types of slurs. And Ida's thinking, he's talking to him like that as if it's just normal. This kid must be on the same level as him. And as he begins to think this, we'll time skip on over towards the locker room scene. Of course, Mineta still he's dead. Heaven's on the other side. Deku just grabs him. Hey, stop that. Mineta would say, I'm sorry, Duke. But you got to Deku then looks at him. Okay, you're not listening. Deku will lift up his hand as Mineta begins to float into the air. He'll say, what the fuck? Deku then would say, within this confined area, gravity is frozen. As everyone begins to lift up into the air, they're like, what the bro, put us down. Deku then would say, let me think about it. And the class, everybody is floating except for Deku and Bakugo. And Deku's doing this just so he can kind of trick the class into thinking that him and Bakugo are on the same level, because he knows that they already think that off of the way the two of them argue. Mind you, Deku and Bakugo are going to be training together a lot, and they did train together a lot in this timeline. And where I want to put them in level of power, Bakugo's equivalent to his freaking manga self, like adult self. Like he is powerful, but genuinely, he's not even close to this version of Deku, who most definitely is stronger than his canon self by so much. But yeah, Bakugo just looks at him, dude. Put him down, you fucking idiot. And as he says, the Deku would say, I really didn't mean to have all of them float. I was only doing that kind of the aura farm, but whatever. As he just waves his hand, all of them would fall to the ground. And they just look at him. Dude, that was unnecessary, they would say. Deku then would say, I had to teach the dude a little point here. They would say, how did you do that? Deku then would say, I can freeze anything. It's part of my quirk. Anything. Can you freeze the sun? Deku then looks forward. I don't know. Let me try. He lifts up his hand and Bakugo grabs him. No. Deku then would say, you don't even know if I can actually do it. Yeah, and I don't want to fucking find out. I'm gonna destroy the planet. It takes 5 to 20 minutes for light to reach us anyways. So like after 5 minutes, we would instantly fucking die. Pretty sure y'all would. I think I can survive this space. I'm pretty sure I can. Not too certain, but I think I can do it. Bakugo says, what the fuck is wrong? What is wrong with you? Deku then says, oh shit, we gotta be outside. Bakugo's like, are you ignoring me? Deku says, a little bit, yeah. Shut the fuck up. Bakugo then says, you're not freezing the sun. Bakugo would say, okay, I'll try the moon. And then Bakugo's like, you know what? Actually, I don't even think that would do anything. Go ahead, we'll see tomorrow. And they're like, is he actually gonna try that? And Deku just looks him dead in the eyes. Yes, I am. I'm gonna, I could terraform Mars, he would say. And the class just, like, they're all just looking at him. Are you okay? They would all ask. And from here, they would make it outside. When they make it outside, the idea is just stuck in Deku's head. He realistically could terraform planets with his quirk. And that's all he's thinking about. After all, he can permanently control the temperature of this ice, which means that he could straight up freeze an entire planet. And in doing so, he could leave parts of the planet submerged in this ice that would regulate their temperature to the point where he could legitimately make a planet permanently be able to sustain life. He could realistically do this for every planet on Earth. He could literally turn Saturn into a pure ice planet and make it a winter wonderland. And that's all he's thinking about, like the fact that he could legitimately do this. But he ain't paying no attention to that. He's now focused on Aizawa giving him the ball. Izuku Midoriya, you got the first place in UA entrance exams. Not too surprised by that, but hey, throw this ball as far as you can. Deku looks at it, as far as I possibly can. Aizawa would nod. Using my quirk, yes or no? Aizawa would say, using your quirk. The class then would see a powerful blue and white flame explode off of Deku's hand. Most of them would look homeward. Does he have a fire quirk? They all would ask. Aizawa then would say, absolutely not, he would say. Deku would roll back his hand as he began to throw his hand almost like a baseball-like motion. He then launches his hand off, and a massive burst of wind knocks everyone back as a powerful wave of ice explodes outward from that throw. And they then would say, what the hell? The class looks on confused. As I would then say, that right there, Izuku Midoriya, son of Pro Hero Blizzard. Quirk, Divine Ice, he would say. Izuku Midoriya's quirk would manifest almost like a flame as you just seen. But in all actuality, that fire is pure ice. They then would say, wait, that's straight up ice? He would nod. But it looks like fire. It takes the form of that originally. Of course, when he actually creates his constructs and uses his abilities, that's when they start to appear like ice. I think his quirk is just dramatic. And as I would say, they would think, you think his quirk is dramatic. Like his quirk has a mind of its own. Aizawa looks forward with a dead serious facial expression as he would nod. I genuinely think that this quirk has a mind of its own. Actually, I think that this quirk can probably do whatever it wants. And as he says this, the class just looks on confused. Like, the people who don't know about Deku, which is going to be almost everyone aside from Todoroki, Momo, Ida, and Bakugo, yeah, they're confused. But the males who were in the locker room realizes that Deku said he could freeze anything. And well, he froze gravity in the locker room. So a lot of people actually kind of starting to believe Aizawa when he says that he legitimately thinks Deku can do anything. From here, every other test would take place, and Deku would win first place in literally everything, with Bakugo coming in second place in everything. And the class sees that Bakugo is also a crazy powerhouse. From here, as Deku's leaving and going home, he would bump into All Might, who tries talking to Deku. But Deku tells him that he's a little busy right now, but All Might would tell him, like, I need your help, Deku. And this caused Deku to stop and turn. What is it, All Might? All Might then would show him his wound and tell him that he legitimately thinks Deku can fix this. And Deku will look towards the wound. He then tells him, I can't heal you, but I can freeze it. And this just causes All Might to look at him. Meaning, he'll say confusion. You will no longer feel it. It will no longer act on your body. The only thing you would feel is cold in that area. Like, really cold in that area, he would say. All Might would say, your ice can be permanent, right? Deku then would say, yeah, you will essentially have an ice patch on your body permanently now. It will no longer even affect your body. The wound would essentially be frozen in time. And All Might would look at it. Do your thing. Deku proceeds to place his hand on it, and instantly All Might would scream out, letting off a huge, loud, heart-wrenching scream. As Deku said, stop fucking yelling, he would say, almost like, it hurts, damn, ah! As he just screams, Deku says, bro, you're being dramatic, it's a little cold, quit being over the top. And when the literal, like, icy mist settles, you see All Might just panting heavily, and he looks at his side, and then he feels amazing, he feels reinvigorated. He balls up his fist, unballs up his fist. He throws a little punchity punch, and just a crazy burst of wind goes off, and almost like, oh shit. I feel like I'm back in my full power. Shit, I feel amazing. Deku would say, that's the beauty of my quirk. It can do anything, realistically. And All Might just looks at him. Man. He just says, why were you busy? Deku then would say, I'm gonna freeze the moon. And All Might just looks at him. What? I'm gonna freeze the moon. Why? All Might would ask. Just want to see if I can do it. And then All Might would say, how are you going to freeze the moon? I'm going to fly up to the atmosphere, point my hand forward, and see if I can manifest ice on the moon. If I can't, I can't. If I can, I'm the GOAT. And he's going to say, and why you're going to do that? Because I want to test if I can terraform planets or celestial objects. All Might just looks at him. You're a weird kid. And Deku would say, and you're an injured old man. And from here, he immediately runs home. And All Might just thinks, this is gonna be weird. But from here, we cut on over towards Deku in the atmosphere as he holds his hand up. And immediately a powerful aura begins to come off Deku. As Deku holds his hand forward, he lets off a bit of a screech as he begins to impose his will. Impose his icy will as a powerful aura would form around the moon itself, and anywhere on the planet where it's nighttime, they would see the moon begin to glow, a powerful blue color. As Deku lets off a screech, and boom, the moon itself proceeds to be frozen, and Deku just starts smiling uncontrollably. Because he did it. He successfully froze the goddamn moon. And then he would unfreeze it. He just thinks, if I can freeze the moon, I can definitely do this. I can terraform planets. From here, guys, I'm going to be taking my break. I know. You cut on over towards Deku. Deku is now on over back in class 1A the next day. And as he's in there, All Might would go to the door with the classic, I'm walking to the door like a normal person. Everyone in class 1A would go, whoa, All Might. And of course, All Might begins to yap to them as he would have in the original timeline. With All Might still yapping and still telling them all the rules of the test, he didn't come forward and tell them. The first match, though, is going to be everyone, including myself, versus Izuku. And as he says this, Deku just looks upward. I beg your pardon, he would say. All Might then would look at him. Everyone in this classroom, plus me. Is that fair? No, it's still not fair. Damn it, he would think. And Aizawa would just look upward at him, literally being under the desk in a beanbag. No, I'm sleeping, he would say. Plus, my card doesn't even work on it if that was what you were hoping for. All Might then would think, fuck. He then would say, well, in present Mike versus you. I feel like for some reason we're still gonna lose. All Might would think to himself, but he doesn't say it out loud. And he looks forward towards Deku. Deku then would say, bro, how is this fair? All Might then would say, name one person in this classroom who could realistically put hands on you. Bakugo. Bakugo? You think Bakugo can really do something to you? Deku then will look forward. I'm pretty sure of it? No, All Might would say. Just straight up. And Bakugo's like, dude, I'm just as fast as you are. All Might then would look at him. No, you're not. I was holding back. You're not as fast as me. Bakugo then says, well, I think I'm powerful. You think you're powerful. But you're not, he would say. Okay? This needs everyone, okay? Everyone in this classroom. Deku would say, that's not fair. All Might says, you froze the damn moon. Please, Izuku, tell me who the fuck is gonna go up against you. Okay, fine, I don't got no excuse. Exactly my point. So who's gonna be the villain? All of us. So y'all get a head start on top of the entire class jumping me? Yes! You're cheating. I ain't cheating. Ain't nobody cheating. You're just OP. And we gotta sort you out. So from here, All Might and all of Class 1A would straight up get a head start and try figuring out what they can do. Todoroki would say he could freeze the bomb. All Might would say absolutely the fuck not. And Todoroki looks at him confused. Why not? I freeze the bomb, what is he gonna do? Just the whole class just looks at him. Like he's an idiot. Did you really just ask what he's gonna do if you freeze the bomb? Is it not going through your head quite yet who this dude is? No. Okay, then how about Momo, how about you just create a capsule and put it inside of? Everyone just looks at him again. Duke. Todoroki then would say, I don't know, amount of ideas. All I could think of was freezing it. All Might then would say, I'll guard the bomb. He then would say, our first line of defense is going to be Bakugo. Our second line of defense is going to be Tsukiyomi. Todoroki, you're going to have to use your fire if you're going to be any help here. Todoroki then would say, I'm not using my fire. And All Might then would say, okay, third line of defense is going to be Kaminari. From here, fourth line of defense is going to be Ida. Honestly, Todoroki, you're not going to be any use here whatsoever. If anything, to be honest, you're going to be quite a hindrance. So, you're going to be our very, very last line of defense. And honestly, I hope you're going to try hand-to-hand combat. I really hope it never taught you something when it comes to throwing hands. And Todoroki just thinks to himself, not really. But of course, he doesn't say it out loud. He would just keep a cold facial expression, acting as if he's just not scared at all, acting like he's confident in himself. In all actuality, he knows for a fact he's not ready for what's probably going to come to him. But from here, the time would be over. It's time for Izuku to arrive, and Deku would walk on into the city. Okay, he would say, looking around. I don't see anybody yet. Maybe I'll just give up. Yeah, maybe I'll just give up and let him win. Yeah, maybe I'll do. Nope. As Deku proceeds to sprout ice wings, he fly upward into the air and he begins to look around. Anybody here? He would question. And of course, no one would say a word, but Deku quickly enough would spot someone. Purple little balls. He would quickly land, as there he would see Mineta, who slowly turns towards him. It's Izuku. Deku then would say, remember what you did to those little girls? Mineta would say, I didn't even do anything. Deku then would say, but you almost did. Mineta would say, Duke, hear me out. Deku then would say, hear you out, hear you out, hear you out. Well, that means I have to listen to you talk. Do I want to do that? Do I want to do that? I mean, I kind of don't. What the others said. Tell me what the others are, and I won't do anything to you. Mineta did what to say. He did what point in the other direction. Suyu's over there, and he didn't point in another direction. Kirishima's over there, and he didn't point behind him. All Might's right behind you. Deku then would say, huh? And he turns around, and All Might immediately delivers a ruthless punch to Deku's face. And Deku was launched across the city, sent flying, as he slammed through several buildings. Deku then proceeds to get upward, as his face proceeds to freeze itself, and he heals himself. What the fuck? Deku would think, as he gets upward and quickly spawns ice wings. He would fly upward into the air, where from here he would form an ice sword. Okay, yeah, we ain't doing this. He then would say, Divine Ice Move. Critical, I forgot the name of the move, I was just gonna say. Critical Flash Freeze. As a massive just burst of ice shot forward from his hand, and he proceeds to flash freeze 50% of the city. As he does this, he would think, hopefully I got some of them. But as this happens, you would see All Might, the moment the ice begun to move from that blade, blitz around the city and grabbed everyone who was within those areas. From here, he rounded them all up into one building. Or from here, he would say, he's likely thinking he just got half of you guys taken down. At the very least, half or at most a quarter. He doesn't know that I have all of you guys here right now. As he says this, he begins to think, All Might, you hit him with a crazy hit, and he got back up like it was nothing, the class would say. We're supposed to fight him. You know that, right? All Might then would say, of course I know that. They then would say, we're supposed to fight him. I just got one question, Ochako would ask. Who volunteering to do that? And no one would raise their hand, except for Bakugo, All Might. They'd be the only two people. Hell, even Todoroki does not have his hand raised. Deku just did that, and I'm pretty sure it looked like it was nothing. Plus, All Might said in front of the whole class he froze the moon, which literally explains the giant the blue ball of ice in the sky. So, yeah, they just, no one is ready for this power. But Deku proceeds to land in this building after freezing every other building and literally seeing nothing through his ice. Mind you, he can see through his ice, meaning every little shard of ice that he got froze somewhere and broke can look through it. He looks through it, bro. He can look through it like it's a set of eyes, bro. I feel like I'm giving him too many powers right now, but I don't even care. The whole purpose of this video is the fact that he's an overpowered ice guy. Like, I can legitimately do whatever I want with this video. So yeah. But he now comes to the last building and he walks inside. When he walks inside, he would say, firstly, if you attack me, knock me out of this building, every other building in the entire area outside is frozen. Which means that if I'm knocked out of this building, I'm essentially within my own zone. Where out there, I'm legit untouchable, he would say. But even if you do attack me right now, which of course, Bakugo, you currently have that little gauntlet aimed at my head, he would say, and as he says this, Bakugo, who was like literally halfway across the building, hidden in a corner, literally behind a bookshelf, will be stunned. He then would say, Invisible Girl currently is on the other side of the room holding a knife. He then would say, Mineta is ready with a bow and arrow for some reason, ready to throw his little ball thingy majiggies at me. He don't say, "Oh, and All Might, you're running at me as we speak." As he says this, Deku jumps upward into the air and dodges an uppercut from All Might. As he does this, All Might would say, "Young Midoriya, I will show you real might." As he goes in for a punch, Deku would dodge it. Immediately, he would create an ice gun and he smacks All Might directly in the chest. All Might is flung backwards. Deku then proceeds to get into a boxing stance as he rushes forward towards All Might. He hits him with a right hook, then a left hook, then a right hook, then a left hook, then he hits him in the gut 2 times. Mink, mink. He then proceeds to punch him in the face. All Might comes stumbling back. Or from here, you'll see Deku rush forward. Immediately, his ice gauntlet will morph into a giant ice hammer as he bashes All Might across the face. From here, Deku will lift up his hand as All Might begins to float into the air. But All Might then will tell him, "Young Midoriya, you should know better than that." As All Might proceeds to launch himself forward towards Deku. Deku will say, "Fuck, I forgot you can use your strength, your pure strength to move throughout the air." Deku then proceeds to jump into the air as he would dodge an attack from All Might.